Hello and welcome back to the Metropole Grid. My name is Andre.
And my name is Jeff.
And thanks so much for tuning in. This is the final round of Single-Sided Swiss Canadian Nationals 2023 here in Montreal at the Silver Goblin. We've gone through, it's now a day and a bit. Again, our last two rounds of Single-Sided Swiss. We had 40 players on the day, came back the next morning, and this round is going to decide which 8 players make to our top cut. And we have 2 players here that are definitely vying to make that top cut. This is a really important game on the day. On the left, that's Thomas. He's playing Arissana. Jeff, kind of an Arissana expert. Could we say that?
I will take that as a generous compliment, but yes, I've played a lot of Arissana. I know T. Burton has been someone who has been in my back corner, shouting, saying environmental testing is good, Arissana is good, lily pad is the way to be, even if, I think there's been some very good players showing some very different styles of Arissana. I'll be interested to see if Thomas is doing my kind of big rig style or like kind of very all-in engine versus these kind of more lenient, aggressive Arissana builds that we've been seeing a lot of.
Yeah, Arissana, the most exciting new ID from the set, I would say right now. Really, really cool to see. So excited to see it. But on the right, that is Iris from Toronto area playing the Outfit. Outfit is like one of the big, I would say, winners of the last competitive season, taking down a Continentals. There's a lot of players that pick up this deck because it is one of the most exciting decks. And I think what's the most interesting thing is there's multiple ways to play the deck. So it's kind of hard to tell whether your opponent's on that sort of big deal fast events combo deck, whether they're on rig shooter that shows up, or even just like good old Oppo research, as much as it is slightly different than hard-hitting news. So really excited to see that. What did you think about Outfit going into the competitive season? It's obviously massively present. I don't know if you want to be sitting across from Arissana while giving out bad publicity.
That's what I was going to say is I feel like Outfit is really good if you're expecting a heavy Hoshiko meta. I know we saw, I'm going to always reference everything back to Cascadia, but like Outfit was very popular there among some of the best placing players, and what they did was they teched their Hoshiko for the Outfit magic because they felt it was so good. I feel like a lot of Shaper decks come in almost naturally teched for the Outfit, which can make the matchup feel a bit, coin flippy for the Outfit player. They have to really roll very quickly and aggressively to slow down, and honestly Arissana having access to Slap Vandal is often one of the most frustrating parts for the Outfit, because you can rush really hard, but a Slap Vandal gets through an annoying amount of your ice pretty easily, honestly.
Yeah. And I think rush is going to be really important. We did see here Thomas taking the mulligan, and Iris seems to be happy with what she has. And that early game, again, it's super, super important. Can you get that early Atlas scored behind a piece of ice? That's hard into Arissana. So maybe we're going to go straight to like big deal. So we'll see how quickly Thomas can threaten Clot if that is in the list. Again, that is pretty common in Shaper. I think it's one of the big reasons why you want to bring Shaper to events. So we'll see how this starts off, because there's a lot of pressure coming down from Arissana if you cannot keep R&D locked down.
Yeah, and with Outfit, you're probably looking to make kind of, I'm going to call it the classic U or double L, unicing HQ is usually a pretty common play pattern. You just ice up a remote, you ice up R&D, and you try and text them out that way. But we do see an install on HQ, which, one of the downsides with Outfit that people are starting to clock onto is that sometimes if you draw your regulatory captures early, and I actually think this might have been a mulligan from Iris. We saw a 5-carded hand shuffled back at one point. Those regulatory captures could just really clog up your hand in a way that is very difficult to actually make a lot of forward motion out of. And this start, it feels real rough as Outfit here. And just looking at this little glimpse of Thomas's hand, this looks very close to a dream hand with what looks like a Simulchip, a Cubon, Dirty Laundry, and environmental testing all in hand. This is... one of those starts that you really dream about with this deck.
So see what's on the table. I think you're expecting to be a Spin Doctor, so there's a bit of risk here if you're going to Dirty Laundry it. You can run R&D, so if there's a Spin Doctor, you might want to go for the preemptive res. You still have the Arissana ability once a turn during a run to install something. Trojan probably makes the most sense. So Cubon, just getting that down so nice here to speed up the environmental testing. So single axis. Off the top, Valencho. An interesting new illicit code gate. It's very important in rotation. Bulwark is gone, and instead we got a code gate that has a lot more interesting subroutines on this, as much as only one of them is the one that you really need to worry about.
Yeah. So I think I probably am So we've spent 1, 2 clicks here. I'm probably checking this remote click 3. If it is a spin doctor, I want to try and get that down. But it looks like we're maybe drawing twice and passing, hoping to get a UAV. I would just be worried about my outfit opponent just trying to sneak a Rashida off the board. Though I do know that some outfit players have started cutting Rashida because it doesn't.
Yeah.
The deck like wins or loses before the Rashida comes down. And in some cases, can really be effective. That was what Abraham was talking about in his Intercontinental Championship interview. But we see a very classic, one of the core cards for outfit, a hostile takeover. One of the cards all the way from the original core set, still kicking around and showing what it's worth.
So Iris, she must have had that in her hand. I don't think she top decked it because we did see the top being a Balan Chow, so still something on the table. Again, you do need to score that out before an SMC into Klotz shows up, as much as the deck definitely has some of Iris's. And going to a lily pad here, going to get you to 2 environmental testings. It's a bit expensive. You're definitely going to want a creative commission or a dirty laundry to get back up here on credits.
Yeah,
now
I think I see a slap vandal in hand, so I'm really tempted to, like, this is click 1 lily pad. I would click 2, grab a credit, and click 3, just run HQ. There's not that much ice that's really scary for you here, realistically, and it just sets up a lot of tempo for you.
In fact, I don't think you need to click for credit. You have the bad pub, right?
Oh, you're right. We have the bad pub, so it does not matter at all. And an Afshar is pretty much ideal for you here. Yeah. You get to slap Vandal with Arissana, spending 1 credit. Then you get drawing a card off of Lily Pad here, and charging up your environmental testing. And Thomas doing the thing that I sometimes struggle to do, which is get all your triggers.
Yeah, we've seen some Arissana games throughout the day, and those triggers can easily be missed. But so far, Thomas is nailing them. Again, 10 rounds of experience will help you get there, as much as only 5 of Arissana. But Afshar, perfect. You can spend the money before the Separtine fires, and Spin Doctor to draw makes you know that there's something ugly in hand, as much as I think it was only a couple cards. So now at least 5 cards, I think. There's definitely an agenda here. We'll see if Thomas keeps that in mind and tries to return.
Yeah,
I mean, the return now.
It's free. It's literally cost you don't make any credits, but you don't lose any credits running through an Afshar, which is pretty great as the runner. A second Cubon in hand is also pretty wild here. We see a Gachapon install.
9 credits in on turn 2 off the environmental testing. Again, I don't think you can ask for a better draw there. Gachapon being that option, whether you want to play Prognostic or Gachapon. I'm a big fan of Gachapon again. Once you have your Lily Pad on the table, you don't need the others. We did see the balance show from hand, though. That's the worst access by a mile here, but without a UAV on the table, I think Iris has some good reasons to maybe over-install that ice, because that is definitely a bit of a liability here.
Yeah, I mean, we happen to know in hand that if there's not another ice on HQ or an overwrite, okay, it looks like we're going for biotic
she's
labor.
Pushing it. So not install. Big deal again. Smaller.
It's just interesting. After an advance, we're going to potentially, because the Gachapon is down. Maybe
this
we're
is
just
such an easy one to miss.
Yeah.
I think Iris went for it, and so Thomas understands, like, hey, there's a small chance that I can Gachapon here and fish for a clot from the deck. It's kind of unlikely. This is not SMC, but you're going to fire this anyways on on the opponent's turn, so you might as well go for it because you're trying to get the Lily Pad trigger here. I think Thomas messes this up. You're meant to reveal these cards. They are public information, so I think he holds them, only towards him, but the corp should be seeing what these cards are. And that actually gives you a good read on what's in the deck, what's in the hand, and what's going to be, removed as well.
Okay, so Unity comes in for 1 credit, draws a card, and this is important. This happens before the shuffle. Mm-hmm. And then 2 cards get set aside, removed from game, and then 3 of them get shuffled back into R&D. It's actually the other order. You shuffle back into R&D and then set aside the remainder, which does matter if you whiff completely. You can RFG 3 cards. At this point, though, the agenda is going to be scored. A Creative Commission and a Sure Gamble are going. I actually think that's not unreasonable against Outfit.
It's wild.
You're going to make lots of money, and now the Atlas does get scored.
This is such a wild gambit, Iris. Definitely a sigh of relief there that the clot doesn't show up out of nowhere. That's a really fun play, as much as maybe you can save it by over-installing with the Spin Doctor if you have something else. But basically, we knew that there was an agenda in hand. So before there is an obvious clot on the table, Iris, she's pushing it out here. So Now, again, we have some really good runs on central servers. R&D is wide open, but Iris might just want to race out, understanding that the later the game goes, bad publicity is a really, really bad scale into Arissana's ability to do everything on run speed.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure I love a click one draw here. To me, I actually want to run HQ first click. We know there's a Cubon in hand, and even so you can actually draw a card and make 2 credits off of your runs on HQ now. Even though you're super over invested on this single Afshar, it's probably solving your economy for the rest of the game, for a big chunk of the middle game here. But it looks like actually Thomas is going a little bit differently than I would. Yeah, and slowing the Ika down. I think that's not unreasonable. Maybe I'm too all in on getting everything, but there's enough cards in HQ. The Spin Doctor res makes me suspicious that HQ is actually pretty loaded, and we do see an Atlas from hand.
So that's 3 agendas within a couple turns. I don't know if you're expecting another to be in hand. Again, that Spin Doctor res, as you said, betrays something. And there's a Biobands, another very interesting card that scales so well into bad publicity. So we'll see here, we're going to go for the draw 2 cards. And now if you want to install a card from your grip paying 1 less, that does include the bad publicity. So a really nice way to get extra value, getting that Urban Art Vernissage down for entirely free with the bad publicity. That's the next piece of the engine you definitely wanted to find.
Okay, and Biotic Labor on top is definitely actually one of the scarier cards and does make me really want to run HQ a second time, but looks like we're going to put a Simul Chip down instead. Doesn't actually threaten anything yet, but isn't unreasonable.
You like it, because if they trash the ice, you can respond to it on the corpse turn. I don't know. I value the Simul Chip so much when I'm playing Arissana. I've kind of overinvested on a single piece of ice because it's the only way to recover easily without trashing your stuff on a later turn.
No, that's true. It is a pretty reasonable install, and I forgot that the corp was on 4 credits, so it is actually pretty difficult for an agenda to get scored out. Not impossible, but it starts to be pretty crippling. So we saw it too big to fail. This is maybe the card that is the most broken in outfit. Just from 0 credits, gain 10 and a bad pub. It's a deal you're very happy for, especially now that bad publicity actually is part of your win condition rather than just a resource you're sort of implicitly spending. We see the UAV trigger, Cubon back to hand. I'm not actually sure I like that necessarily. The Afshar is already broken. I would rather have the threat of the Slap Vandal on the Valentau, because Unity is still struggling to do much to Valentau. It's boosting, I think, 3 times to the strength, whereas you can probably break just 1 subroutine on the Valentau with a Slap Vandal and be pretty happy.
Yeah, I think it's 2 to boost, right? Because it counts as Slap Vandal, but I think you're totally right. Having the Slap Vandal in hand makes it much more scary. Now, you talked about the bad publicity being interesting, and just to be explicit about there, again, Valentau res, mind you, 3 credits back on the res, so it's only a 2 credit res, even for free if all the subroutines fire. The big thing here, as you mentioned earlier, is regulatory capture. You're kind of, as a corp, you kind of want to speed run for bad publicity, so you're excited to get this res almost at whatever cost it is, because those regulatory captures, if there's 1 in hand, you could, in theory, audacity it out next turn, but more likely wait until you get to that 4th bad publicity, and it's a 2-2, which, on 5 points, you're as close as you can get to winning the game without winning.
Yeah, I guess so. You're right, because there's 3 breakers down. It is only 2 to boost, and then you probably only need to break 2 of the subroutines. You probably don't mind the corp gaining 2 here, even though it kind of sets you off of the Valentau being long-term free. It is a thing that you can do, and then you get to see the top card of R&D here.
Trebuchet, another scary one. Strength, though, means that that first subroutine, which is usually the more disastrous one, you can deal with on a panic if you're going to keep that Vandal in hand, which is still in the Afshar. You're also, again, with 18 credits, you saw 2 Biotics so far. That's probably the influence that goes into big deal. So I don't know if you have to be worried about big money, unless maybe this list also plays that sneaky, every once in a while you see what's it called, Trojan Horse? Is that the one?
Oh yeah, that is the tricky one for sure. And here we see UAV coming down, helping discount the install cost of Daily Cast, making Daily Cast a 1 cost gain 7 or gain 8 over 4 turns. Pretty good. Not quite as good as the very similar environmental testing, but you've got lots of money accessible to you. This is kind of why I was cutting Sure Gambles, because I was like, oh, my installable cards are much more powerful. But I think there's good reasons to include Sure Gambles so that you can, play the first 3 turns of the game in Netrunner.
No, I think the big thing here, again, Iris, we know that she's holding onto a biotic labor, but so far Thomas hasn't produced a self-modifying code or any way to get Claude. And as soon as that appears on the table or into the heap, we have an entirely different game. But Iris pushing their remote server, understanding that, that Slap Vandal coming straight back to hand, there's almost no ice there that's going to stop you. But if Iris wants to get to 4 bad publicity, forcing Thomas into remote server, forcing that res to get that 4th bad publicity off what we're expecting to be a trebuchet is really, really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And, Thomas has not had Lily Pad has been good. Has been drawing a card every single turn here, but we didn't get and I guess we got one off turn install with the Gachapon. So it's doing a pretty decent amount of value. I think we're maybe checking. I'm not exactly sure why we're checking archives. I guess maybe to see.
He just wants to know.
Influence
he just wants
spend.
to see what's in there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and how valuable the Spin Doctor could be as well.
Crashing the remote server again. 4 credits for a trebuchet after that mail-in rebate. 6 strength. We know in hand there is that Slap Vandal. Ika, I don't know how good the numbers are. You have to pay to host it. You have to pay to boost. It's not the worst at high strength sentries. I haven't internalized the numbers on Ika yet. I think we'll figure out on screen. I think it's 2 boosts though. That's pretty bad.
Is it 2? Yeah, you're right. It's 2 boosts. So it's
so 5.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
It's 5. It's 5 for. It's 5 plus the 2 up front. So it's 7 the first time and 5 in future runs. Most of which gets discounted. The wall to wall, it's a tricky one because you kind of do want to res this because you want to keep R&D locked. Because it is until you have SMC. Once you have access to SMC, you're pretty happy to let a wall to wall fire in most cases. As long the thing you're really trying to keep it clear at that point is viruses. And you're definitely as Thomas a little sad to see a wall to wall here because you just basically traded away the most important bad publicity, the 4th bad publicity, so that regulatory captures become a 2/2 in exchange for seeing a card that was not great for you.
Yeah, this is interesting. I think Iris just wanted to push something in the remote server to force that res because now the game is entirely different. We are going to trash that. Mind you, the Spin Doctor did make it a bit less interesting. We might have seen Iris crack the Spin Doctor to make sure that she only has 1 resed asset, but now the game is probably in R&D here. The Biotic is in hand. She had the many to Biotic out if she had a 3/2. The regulatory capture now is online, so unless you can sweep HQ, locking the top of the deck is probably quite important. We'll see how the Spin Doctor interacts with that.
We also see a Conduit in hand, so it's actually, we're very, very close to the board state where Arissana just Conduit locks R&D for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
This board state looks a little unintimidating. I actually think this Spin Doctor run is trying to preempt, is basically trying to set up for this. Yeah, exactly. So we're installing Cubon.
If that doesn't set up the second Cubon does, right?
Yeah, it sure does, right? Now we're probably going through that. We're probably making money going through a 6-cost code gate, which is not something you can do with a lot of runner decks.
So we used Arissana. So if you want to boost that, the Unity, you have to boost 3 times because the Slap Vandal is no longer on the table. So that's 3 boosts. And then you can only have to break, technically you want to break 2 to subroutine is cheaper. So you're spending 5 for that to be bad publicity to gain 4 back. Obviously the Corp is gaining credits, but if you're logging the top of the deck, the Corp can have infinite credits as far as you're concerned. So this is a very scary situation. A single overwrite on a piece of ice might be incredibly important. Getting down 2 Cubons, that's hard to fully repair. But if there is a Conduit in hand, that is obviously worst case scenario here for the corporation.
Yeah, I think it's now just for Thomas figuring out is, did I actually put down the Cubons a little bit too early because I can't install Conduit and get multiple Conduit runs this turn. But we're actually just going to run R&D for value because it is, as we talked about, it's actually making money here. Even though we're spending 5 on the break, we're actually, that's only one of that credits. Only one of those credits is coming out of the credit pool, and then 4 are being made back off of the Cubon. So you're clicking for 3 credits when each time you run HQ, or R&D, excuse me, which is a really significant win for you. And you don't care that the Corp is getting 2 credits.
Yeah, you could break it. You're making less money. It's still again, build your own magnum opus plus. So Valenchao, 6 strength, that bad publicity. We're at the point where the runner is going to scale over you when breaking becomes very, very credit positive. To me, this is why I'm so, absolutely enamored with Arissana. It feels to me like the most criminal a shaper has felt in a really long time, where you have good incentives to run and you're actually kind of keeping the corporation hostage with some of their ice. It's a wild play pattern.
Yeah, it is that, you know, I've played against opponents who are like, I lost the game when I installed an ice on R&D, and I'm like, yes, that was the thing that cost you the game. And it's, you know, maybe one day that will become so oppressive and people will really hate it as we hate everything that's good. But for now, Arissana's play patterns are very new and a lot of fun. So
we saw an after off the top. Thomas, last click for a credit. I think it is just straight better to run R&D. Like, you get more money. Maybe you're concerned about keeping off the big deal credits if you're still worried about that sort of the difference in the credit totals for big deal, mind you, 17 cost operations. So there's a chance. I still think if you run and break all subroutines, you do come up on top.
You can break all subroutines and you just make one fewer credits. So it does seem like it's still correct to just run R&D there. And this is the thing, like, one of the things I've seen people do, like, actually against me when I've been playing the op, I like just handed someone my op list and they're like, I'm just going to install Cubon at random on one of your ice and run it. And it's like, it's a challenge.
Yo. With a smile, Iris delivers a baseball bat. Unfortunately, you trash something. This allows you, it's a reprisal, so you can only play it after a certain turn where the runners trash something. And then you can choose a hardware or a non-virtual resource and trash it. So it's either 4 meat damage or something's going to go down, probably the lily pad there, which is not the most important. It's pretty annoying.
I actually think as the runner here, you don't mind taking 4 damage here. And we see...
I don't think you mind it. I think it actually empowers you. You have Simulchip on the table.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, like, you may not have a program you want to flip, but we do see Hush, Conduit, and 2 Slap Vandals go down. The Conduit being in the bin is probably good for you here. The biggest thing is, you know, you'll be giving up something to get it into play if you want to do it on, and we are going to give up a Cubon, which I actually think makes a lot of sense to get the Conduit down.
And this is on the corpse turn 2, so you're going to get the lily pad if you have another card in hand. It did flush out a whole bunch of Trojans, but exactly now the Conduit comes in for free with the Urban Art Vernissage while drawing a card. That is actually, it might be tempo positive. Now the big thing here is if you go in on R&D, you only have 2 cards in hand. I do not know whether you have to respect Snare after seeing 2 biotics, but there is a line here that maybe Iris is sitting quite comfortably understanding. Yeah, come R&D, see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's not bad for you as the runner here to click 1, draw, and then click 2, run R&D, just so that you never actually lose this game. That said, Snare in Outfit is pretty bad. Like, it's going to be, it's both rare and going to be bad on average for you most of the time. So it's like, it's one of those, I know there's people in my meta that are like, you should always put Snare in every deck because sometimes you'll get a cheesy win like this, but it's like, a lot of the time it's not really going to do much for you.
I don't know, with the reprisals maybe, but hey, we have another Cubon, so we're back to making money, seeing a pivot off the top. That is a trashable operation, mind you. That might be one of the first times you see that combination if you're new to the game, but you can get that trash can printed on just about anything. And we're going back. Now the Conduit is charging up. We're making money on these runs while also seeing deeper and deeper. This is 2 new cards. This is an absolute nightmare of a board state for sure.
Yeah,
this is one of those, how to stop R&D.
This is one of those things where it's like, yeah, I know the Afshar is kind of blank, but I just need to overwrite my own stuff. Government subsidy does suggest to me that this might actually be a big deal, and biotic labor, just all your influence going to purple cards and spin doctors. I don't think you need the government subsidy otherwise.
We're going to go back, mind you. 1 more card.
Yeah. Making money and seeing new cards is just too good to pass up.
Hordem a bit deeper, mind you. A Unity does get through that. It's going to cost you some credits. So obviously, it's very hard to tax out any runner with poor bad publicity, but going to go back 1 more card. Again, seeing a trashable here or even stealing an agenda is so important because not only do you trash to steal stuff, you're going to see even deeper when you return. So Virus Iris needs to get there on the top of the deck. Otherwise, you cannot spend a turn to purge here if you cannot solve the issue of R&D. Just an ice wall. 4 Conduit counters. Again, purging doesn't do anything because you can just go back and make more money. So Iris needs to have another piece of ice here. A barrier would actually present a problem. We haven't seen a Fractor. 2 Slap Handles are in the bin. Now, the ice wall is 4 cards down. That's something that only Thomas knows. Iris doesn't see that. So whether we have an envelopment, a border control, and what's it called? The
Sandstone?
The big lighthouse. Sandstone, sure.
Pharos and Treeline. We're seeing a lot of outfit decks as well. Yeah.
So this is tricky again. you know that the runner's going to see probably 4 or 5 more cards next turn while gaining money. But 17 credits with the biotic, it looks like we're just going to go score out. Hope R&D holds out a bit. It looks like that might be an Atlas triple advance. There's no clot threat above the law, taking down.
Probably the UAV?
Yeah, I assume so. Again, that does allow you to trash a resource. UAV looks like going to be nuked from orbit.
Going all out on these animations.
So this is interesting. I think there's a chance. So Iris is going to be drawing an Audacity, or she has something in hand, because she might actually have the game in hand here. And there's a gamble whether R&D will either flatline you to snare, which is getting less likely here, whether a Mavirus will save you and basically buy you a whole turn back, and whether you can survive one more turn. So Thomas has to understand, do you want to just send it R&D? Do you want to spend any time setting up to try and get a clot or clot threat down, which probably buys you much a longer game potentially? Or do you want to just send it? First click, I think he drew.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're missing maybe the daily cast.
Oh, that looks like an SMC in hand. That's a big deal if that is an SMC that he just drew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think so, though he doesn't have the MU to put it down for free here. Because he's got
going even deeper.
Yeah, we're going to see 2 new cards on this run. Agendas have to be somewhere in this deck, and this deck, like the op lists, runs a lot of agendas. A lot of Wayland decks are running a lot of agendas. Too big to fail. Trashing this on site, not because you care about the money, but because you want to see more cards in R&D, and that's a regulatory capture.
Okay. We're going to go see 3 new cards if you come back. Again, there's definitely Maviruses in the list. Whether that shows up sooner than anything else, 4 points to 5. Whether Iris has another red cap in hand, we knew HQ has been really rough, and she's just been, absolutely soldiering through off those scores from hand. So maybe she's confident that R&D density, it's all in hand. We'll see. There's the Audacity off the top. Again, these cards are all known. It's Horde them into Ice Wall. I think this starts to be new. Hostile.
Oh, that's brutal. One more steal is going to do it, and there's two more shots on goal. And there it is.
Oh man, the biggest conduit, going to get worse and worse there. Thomas figuring it out. I don't know if Iris had it in hand, but that's a hard gamble. I think when Mavirus shows up there, Iris is looking in a reasonable spot, and you see, he had the SMC, and that was the next thing to come down last click. And hand, only a Spin Doctor and Afshar, and I think we actually knew almost all of that hand because we saw a lot of those cards come off the top.
Yeah, I think maybe as Iris, the only change you make is, even though you don't, like, the Afshar isn't going to actually save R&D. It is going to trash the 2 Cubons. So you actually, no, I guess it really does nothing to trash it. So they're really,
it's hard.
This is why I'm not actually the biggest fan of Outfit. Is if an Arissana player shows up, your matchup just gets so rough so quickly if they're on this sort of engine-y build. Maybe on the ones that are not on Cubon, you're more okay. But this has just been my kind of perception of how that matchup goes a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, Outfit to me, you see a lot of Feast or Famine. I think it did pretty well for Iris at this event, but there's some big plays there. I think this is a pretty interesting list with Biotic, so excited to see. We've seen mostly big deal, I think, on camera so far. So, but hey, that is round 10. We've got through all of the Swiss single-sided Swiss rounds of both these players understanding. In just a couple minutes, there's going to be some prizes distributed, and we're going to be going to 8 final players. Whether these folks want to go off and play some startup, I think actually, so I don't think either of these players made the top cut, and I think a couple of them ended up playing New Angeles, which was really cute. We had like a huge room of people doing all sorts of different Netrunner stuff with draft and like startup and the top cut and the old board game New Angeles, which is a pretty fun thing to play. So we'll be back again. We're going to go to the top cut. 8 players left vying for that Canadian national champion title. Jeff, thanks so much for joining me for these games. You want to shout out your channel pretty quick? Big fan of the channel. Folks need to know.
Yeah, thanks. People can check me out. I'm on YouTube and Twitch, I guess, as YsengrinSC. I stream on Fridays going forward, though there'll be a brief interruption around Worlds. And I also do YouTube content. There should be some recent videos looking at both why you should get into Standard and just kind of a meta breakdown post Continentals. So check those out if you want more Netrunner content. And Andre is not unable to satiate your thirst for more of it. So
it's great stuff. Check it out. Link in the description. And again, Jeff, thanks so much for joining me. We'll be getting on to our top cut to follow the narrative. We'll be back in a bit. Thanks for watching. Ciao. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Again, the Arissana outfit matchup is actually pretty difficult for the outfit, with bad publicity lining up with Arissana's text box, and those slap vandals getting through all the 6 strength ice, basically every ice in the deck. That can be quite a problem. So well done to both players. Actually pretty aggressive, pretty tight. A single virus there can have a huge impact on the game. So really exciting to see that Conduit ending. And of course, huge thank you to Jeff YsengrinSC, who joined me for some commentary. Link to his stuff in the description. Again, a lot of work that he does on the Null Signal game side too, working as their organized play person. So really appreciate all the work that goes into that. And thanks so much to all these names here and to more, again, the Daily Cast patrons. And speaking of serious, we just hit the end of Swiss round, so we're on to the top cut. High stake games, it's still going to be single-sided, but it's double elimination. So the stakes are rising. We're down to 8 players. Those games will be up very shortly on the channel. Hope you enjoy them. Thanks for watching again. Ciao.